Chapter 236, Shuhai wants to see you. Jian Yun's face immediately turned red. She said awkwardly, Wu Wenjing is talking nonsense. Huo Liansheng nodded. So you are looking for a new family now? Ah, what next, man? Jian Yun was stunned and did not react for a while, but then she realized that Huo Liansheng was referring to Wu Wenjing's last words about finding a good man for her to marry. Her eyelids jumped and her face was as red as a cooked shrimp. She quickly denied it. I didn't. Come here. Huo Liansheng was still leaning against the doorframe. He waved at Jian Yun. What? Jian Yun did not want to listen to him. She was not his dog. If he wanted her to go over, she would go over. To prove that you do not want to go to another house. Huo Liansheng did not mind seeing Jian Yun not move. Instead, he walked towards Jian Yun. Moreover, he was tall and had long legs. From the study room to the sofa, he was only a few steps away. When Jian Yun realized that he was already in front of her, she immediately took 2 steps back and wanted to avoid him. Who knew that Jian Yun would forget that she was standing beside the sofa? She took a step back and directly sat on the sofa. Huo Liansheng just happened to bend over and lock Jian Yun in the range of his hands. He stared at her, and his ink-colored eyes reflected her shadow. Spots of light shot from above and fell into his eyes. At that instant, it seemed like there was a flash of light and circles of ripples spread out. Jian Yun stared at his eyes and suddenly felt a little dizzy. She subconsciously closed her eyes and then felt hot air rush over, and her lips were kissed. It was another deep kiss. It was as warm as fire. But this time, Huo Liansheng clearly took into account Jian Yun's feelings. He did not ask blindly like before, but waited gently. Jian Yun could no longer think. She only felt her brain suddenly become a lump of paste. No matter how hard she struggled, she could not stir it. She could only passively endure it. But her heart was beating so fast that it almost jumped out of her chest. Jian Yun only opened her eyes after the kiss ended. At this moment, her long eyelashes were stained with water. Her eyes were sparkling. She looked at him. Her eyebrows were black and her lips were like cherry blossoms. She was unbelievably beautiful. Huo Liansheng's breathing became heavy again. You. Jian Yun opened her mouth. She wanted to ask why he wanted to kiss her again. Shouldn't he be angry when he heard those words? However, at this time, Jian Yun's phone rang again. The ambiguous atmosphere was ruined, and Jian Yun did not have the chance to ask the rest of her words. She looked down in panic and picked up the phone to look. Jian Yun quickly glanced at Huo Liansheng. He did not leave, but took advantage of the opportunity to sit beside her and still looked at her. His eyes seemed to have magic power. Every time he looked at Jian Yun like that, Jian Yun would feel her face turn red and her heart beat. Her ears would feel hot. Jian Yun could only turn around and turn her back to him. She asked the other end of the phone. Hello, who is it? Jian Yun, it's me. The one who spoke was a woman. Her voice was very pleasant and her tone was very gentle. Who are you? But the voice on the phone could change the tone, so Jian Yun did not recognize it. She frowned and asked. The other side was silent for a moment before she said, It's me, Lin Lanlan. This time it was Jian Yun who was silent. Huo Liansheng was very close to her and naturally heard the voice on the phone. He reached out and wrapped his arm around Jian Yun's slim waist. Jian Yun's body trembled, and she turned to look at him. She subconsciously wanted to pry his hand away, but Jian Yun's hand reached over, but was grabbed by Huo Liansheng. Hello? Jian Yun, are you listening? Lin Lanlan saw that Jian Yun did not speak for a long time and could not help but ask. Is something the matter? Jian Yun's tone was very cold. She did not break free from Huo Liansheng's grasp and could only lower her head to look at his hand that was still on her waist. Since that incident 6 years ago, her best friend turned against each other, and she and Lin Lanlan did not have any interaction. Until the few times they met this year, it also ended with unhappiness. They were no longer the same as before. Jian Yun naturally did not have anything to say to Lin Lanlan. Lin Lanlan did not mind, and she asked, Can you come out and meet me? No need. There is nothing to talk about between us. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. When Jian Yun thought of Lin Lanlan, she was extremely disgusted. How could she possibly want to see her? Wait. Lin Lanlan quickly said, Shu Haiyan was hospitalized in a car accident. Do you know that? He was in a car accident. Why should I know? Jian Yun said coldly. She subconsciously glanced at Huo Liansheng and saw that he had his eyelids down. She did not know what he was thinking and did not know if he was listening to her on the phone. Jian Yun, I was wrong about what happened in the past. It has nothing to do with the sea. Don't misunderstand him, okay? Lin Lanlan seemed to be anxious and desperately tried to explain. If there is nothing else, I will hang up. Jian Yun did not want to give Lin Lanlan the chance to pretend to be a white lotus. She would never admit her mistakes. If she desperately tried to explain now, she would cry. It would only be one situation. There was someone next to her. She was putting on a show for others to see. Jian Yun, Haiyang wants to see you. Lin Lanlan heard Jian Yun's tone was so cold and she anxiously shouted, but before she could say the words, she found that the phone was hung up. In the ward, Shu Haiyang had a plaster cast on his arm and bandages on his head. He was lying on the bed with a pale face. This was a single VIP ward. The conditions were not bad and there should be television equipment. At this moment, Lin Lanlan was standing beside the bed with her phone. Dressed in a white dress, her long hair reached her waist and she looked pitiful like a delicate flower. On the other side of the hospital bed, Mrs. Shu was so angry that she'd gnashed her teeth. Her expression was ferocious. Haiyun, you heard Jianyun, this little slut is actually so cruel. She doesn't care about your life or death at all. Right now she still doesn't know which wild man she is fooling around with. Why are you still loyal to a woman like this? Mom, don't say any more. Shu Haiyun's face turned pale again. His eyes were closed and his handsome face was filled with pain. Haiyun, I think Jianyun still hates what happened back then. How about I go and explain to her myself? Lin Lanlan put away her phone and said gently. It was just that her pretty face could not hide her loneliness. No need, you can go. Shu Haiyun shook his head. He had said what needed to be said, but Jianyun did not budge. She had said it too late because she had fallen in love with someone else. Yes, with such an excellent man by her side, how could she not fall in love with someone else? After all, it was him who had ruthlessly hurt her back then. After walking for another 6 years, no matter how firm her feelings were, they would change. Haiyun, what are you doing? You don't want such a good girl like Lanlan. You must think about that little slut, Jianyun. But now that she has climbed onto a high branch, she doesn't even look at you anymore. Wake up. When Mrs. Shu mentioned Jianyun, she could not help but get angry. On one hand, it was because Jianyun did not respect her and did not fight back or scold back. On the other hand, she really did not want to see a woman abandoned by her son find such a good family. This made her heart extremely unbalanced. Mom, if you scold Yunduo again, don't come back in the future. Shu Haiyun suddenly opened his eyes. He stared fiercely at Mrs. Shu and revealed a rarely seen fierce look. Chapter 237, We're married? Mrs. Shu was stunned when she heard that. Then she revealed a look of grievance. Haiyun, how can you talk to your mother like that? Do you not want your mother anymore for the sake of a woman outside? Mom, can you stop talking? Shu Haiyun suddenly felt irritated. He hit the bed with his right arm and struggled to get up. Haiyun, don't move, you are injured in the head, the doctor said you need to rest. Mrs. Shu became nervous. She quickly went over to stop Shu Haiyun from moving. She nodded repeatedly. Okay, Mom won't say any more. Brother Haiyun, don't be agitated. Lin Lanlan also came over and held Shu Haiyun's hand. A desolate look flashed across her face and her voice was also very low. Back then, it was I who let you and Jianyun down. That matter was my fault. Don't worry, I will help you explain to Jianyun clearly. There is no need to explain. Shu Haiyun felt dizzy when he moved. He shook off Lin Lanlan's hand and pressed on his head. He shook his head very anxiously. You go out, Brother Hai. Lin Lanlan wanted to say something, but Shu Haiyun suddenly got angry. He glared at Lin Lanlan and shouted, Get out. You go out first. Mrs. Shu also winked at Lin Lanlan. Then you rest well, I will come to see you tomorrow. Lin Lanlan could only turn around and pick up her bag and walk out the door. In the ward, Mrs. Shu settled Shu Haiyun down. She said somewhat discontentedly, Haiyun, Lanlan, this girl is so good to you. How can you treat her like this? Mom. Shu Haiyun calmed down a little, but when he heard Mrs. Shu mention Lin Lanlan, his eyes immediately turned blood red. You know what happened back then. You ruined Yunduo and me's future. How can you say such things now? Yunduo, you only have that girl in your heart. What is so good about that girl? Is it worth you thinking about it for so many years? Didn't you and Lanlan get along pretty well when you were overseas? She even sent me a lot of pictures of you guys. Why do you seem to be possessed the moment you returned to China? Mrs. Shu got angry when she heard that. We separated as soon as we left the country. Those photos were only taken when we occasionally bumped into each other. I have nothing to do with her. Shu Haiyun closed his eyes and explained tiredly. He did not want to hear about Lin Lanlan again. Mom, I want to rest. Mrs. Shu still felt sorry for her son and did not mention anything that made Shu Haiyun unhappy. She asked caringly, Oh, okay. You did not eat much tonight. Are you hungry? I will make you something to eat, okay? I don't want to eat. Mom, go back. I want to be alone. Shu Haiyun turned his head. His face was so pale that it made his eyes darker. Mrs. Shu was silent for a moment. She could not help sighing. Haiyun, Mom knows you are blaming me. What happened back then was indeed my fault. But Mrs. Shu did not continue speaking. She got up and walked to the door. She turned her head and said, I will call the nurse over. Mom is in the outer room. If you do not want to see Mom, Mom will not come in, but Mom will always be here with you. Shu Haiyun closed his eyes and gritted his teeth. At that time, when the phone hung up, Jianyun felt Huo Liancheng's big hand on her waist tighten. She turned to look at him and heard him say, Don't you want to see him? Jianyun shook her head. There's nothing to see. I don't like women who say things that are not true. Huo Liancheng narrowed his eyes. An unknown light flashed in the corner of his eyes. Jianyun's fingers trembled when she heard him. She looked into Huo Liancheng's eyes. What did he see? I don't mind you going to see him. Huo Liancheng said again. Even if it is out of human concern, it is fine to see him. Jianyun lowered her eyes. She was silent for a while before she said, No. I will not go. Since we are going to break it, we must break it cleanly because there is no way out. Huo Liancheng held Jianyun's hand and gently stroked her soft palm. After a moment, he said, I hope you do not go back on your words. Jian Yun bit her lips, but her expression was a little dazed. How could she not want to look at him? Even if there were contradictions and hatred after that. After all, with so many years of love, it was not easy to give up. However, she could not go. It was just as she had said, she was going to be completely cut off. There was no way for her and Shu Haiyan to escape. Jian Yun was thinking about something when she suddenly realized that something was not right. What are you doing? Jian Yun turned her head to look at Huo Liancheng, who came close to her again. She hid behind him with a face full of vigilance. Huo Liancheng grabbed Jian Yun's hand and smiled cynically. I want to prove something to you. What is it? Jian Yun felt Huo Liancheng's smile was a little strange. She frowned and watched him play with her hand. It proves that I don't have any dysfunction. I don't like men either. Huo Liancheng narrowed his eyes and pressed closer to Jian Yun. What the fuck? Jian Yun's face immediately burned. She couldn't help but curse. This guy actually heard everything. Jian Yun would not stay obediently and check with Huo Liancheng if he was calcium. After scolding him, she agilely slid down from his side and ran towards her bedroom without thinking. God, what did she do this time? Why did he hear her every time she said bad things about him? What a shame. Huo Liancheng watched Jian Yun run away like a little rabbit. He did not chase after her. He leaned back on the sofa with a smile on his lips. Seeing her embarrassed appearance, he was quite happy. However, he was also wondering when this girl would accept him. Every time she hugged her, the feeling of not being able to do anything made him feel like he was about to have a function barrier. Should he force himself onto the bow? Huo Liancheng rubbed his chin and thought about this possibility. But then he sighed and extinguished this idea in the bud. He had waited so long for her to be willing to accept him. It was better for him not to force her and ruin the harmonious relationship between them. Jian Yun entered the bedroom and closed the door. She leaned against the door and listened to the noise outside. However, the soundproofing of the door was very good. She could not hear anything and could only lie on the bed and send a message to Wu Wenjing. I was killed by you. What happened? What happened? What did I do? Wu Wenjing quickly replied. Jian Yun decided to scare Wu Wenjing, so she called. I was with Huo Liancheng just now. He heard the last sentence you said. What the fuck? Is it true? Jian Yun, don't scare me. Wu Wenjing was still eating melon seeds. When she heard these words, she was so scared that she did not exhale. After coughing for a long time, she almost stuffed the melon seeds into her nose again. Why would I lie to you? I'm going to be killed by you. Jian Yun was so depressed that she wanted to die. She did not even know what Huo Liancheng was thinking about her now. He was a narrow-minded person. Previously, he always said that her private life was not proper. This way, he would definitely think that she was bold and unrestrained. Otherwise, why would she talk about the function of men with others? Jian Yun, you really live with President Huo. Wu Wenjing caught the main point of the matter. Chapter 238, with a beauty by his side. How could he not be flustered? We're married, Jian Yun said seriously again. Get away as far as you can. Wu Wenjing said angrily. Haha, Jian Yun laughed on the bed. No one actually believed her in telling the truth in this day and age. No kidding. You guys really live together? Wu Wenjing still pursued this topic and asked. I guess so. I live in his house, but nothing happened. Jian Yun quickly said. She was afraid that Wu Wenjing would think randomly. There are not many people who know about this matter. Don't tell anyone. Remember to keep it a secret. Jian Yun, you can do it. You say you don't like it? A man like President Huo actually moved so quickly? Also, we haven't had a relationship yet. Who are you lying to? I don't believe that Huo Laohui can sit still with a beauty by his side. Wu Wenjing sighed as she pursed her lips and sneered. It's up to you whether you believe me or not. I don't have anything like that anyway. Jian Yun said with a smile. Although she knew that she could not hear what was being said inside, she still deliberately lowered her voice with a guilty conscience. Wu Wenjing was shocked, and then she also lowered her voice and asked quietly, President Huo can actually endure it? Could the rumors outside be true? Does he really have that obstacle? Or was it really a gay? Jian Yun, what kind of luck do you have? The Zhou Xiaolong you met before was gay. And now you meet another one. Don't talk nonsense, Jian Yun quickly said. Of course, she was sure that Huo Liancheng liked women. He did not have any gay temperament. As for whether there was any functional obstacle, she did not know. She was not sure. Up until now, he respected her. Other than loving to kiss her, he did not force himself onto the bow. It was because of this that she put down her guard against him. She did not guard against him like before. Jian Yun, take it well. You are President Huo's only woman in all these years. You might really be able to take over and become Mrs. Huo. Wu Wenjing had a look of yearning on her face. I don't have that intention. You also said it is not easy to marry into a wealthy family. Jian Yun laughed lightly and rolled up a strand of hair with her finger. I just want to live a peaceful life and not get involved in those scheming. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. Come out tomorrow when you have time. Sleep early. Sigh, it's really a dilemma. Wu Wenjing sighed. How can I sleep now? I still have to advertise. I'm doing business. By the way, is business good? Jian Yun asked. It's normal. Only after doing this did you know that there was so much water in it. The screenshots of the accounts that were posted in the WeChat moments were all done by software, and they were all trying their best to pull down a WeChat marketing person. Wu Wenjing said, "Isn't this the marketing mode?" Jian Yun was surprised. "Yes, there are a few products that are obviously marketing. He wants me to spend money to buy the products first and then develop the next person on WeChat. Isn't this cheating? Fortunately, I invested less and stockpiled some goods. I quickly quit. It's too much of a scam." Wu Wenjing said angrily, "Then why do you still want to continue? Why don't you come back to work?" Jian Yun was worried. Wu Wenjing's parents divorced when she was young, and she had been growing up with her grandmother. After Grandma Wu passed away, she lived alone. It was rare for her parents to call her once a year, and it was not easy for her to be alone. "I have this plan, but I have submitted my resignation report. Sigh, I can't alert President Huo just because I'm a small employee. Forget it, I can still make sales for him at the moment. That steel collar underwear is very formal. There are products and companies. It has been developing well. I plan to continue working first. We'll talk about it after a while." Wu Wenjing said, "If you want to come back, I can look for Ruan Mian. I don't need to look for him." Jian Yun also understood that Wu Wenjing was afraid of troubling her, but what she was more worried about was that Wu Wenjing was willing to bet everything on this micro-business. In the end, she could not even eat anything. "Can I?" Wu Wenjing actually already regretted her resignation a long time ago. When she heard that Jian Yun had a way, she immediately cried out happily. "I'll tell her tomorrow that she has a lot of connections and should have a way." Jian Yun thought that she should find an opportunity to tell Huo Liancheng about Ruan Mian's request. After all, she had agreed first, but Jian Yun felt a little embarrassed. Her relationship with Huo Liancheng did not seem to be that intimate yet. Helping Ruan Mian speak seemed to be fanning the flames. It made her feel very uncomfortable. After ending the phone call with Wu Wenjing, Jian Yun laid on the bed and played with her phone while thinking about something. The few of them in university were really in a different situation now. Take her as an example, meeting Huo Liancheng for no reason and getting cheated by him to get married. She did not even dare to think about this kind of thing in the past. Luo Yanyan's dream in the past was to open a flower shop with the person she loved and then watch the flowers bloom and fall together. But now she wanted to marry a man she did not love. Her life in the future could almost be met. Wu Wenjing's background was bumpy, but she lived the most comfortable life. She could do whatever she wanted, and this kind of life could not be considered to have any regrets. As for Mo Shailin, who was far away in Australia, it was another story about her dream of going to a faraway place. Jian Yun suddenly felt a little sad. The next morning, Jian Yun and Huo Liancheng went out to work together. On the way, his expression was calm. Jian Yun also deliberately did not think about the strange smile on his handsome face when he said that he wanted to check if he had any dysfunction last night. However, the more Jian Yun did not want to think about it, the more she kept thinking about what she saw when he took 2 baths. It was really terrible. Jian Yun rubbed her face. Seeing that she had entered the underground parking lot of Ming's building, she remembered that she did not get off the bus at the bus stop today. However, she thought about it. She was also working in the CEO's office now, and could directly go up with Huo Liancheng. There was no need for her to lunate. Entering the elevator, Jian Yun thought for a long time before saying, "Well, there is something I want to tell you." "Huh?" Huo Liancheng did not look back and only replied, "That's right. Ruan Mian," she said, "can you let her go to the branch company? She does not want to follow President Gu." Jian Yun said in a dilemma, "Why is she looking for you?" Huo Liancheng turned his head to look at Jian Yun. "Because she knows about our relationship." Jian Yun bit her lips and said, "Then why did you help her?" Huo Liancheng asked again, "Because." Jian Yun was suddenly at a loss for words. "Because she told you that the company gave you 5 times your salary, so you think you owe her a favor?" Huo Liancheng asked in a deep voice. Jian Yun thought about it. She did think so she nodded. "Then have you thought about it? The one who gave you a raise is not her but the Mings, so you don't owe her a favor." Huo Liancheng's voice was a little harsh. Jian Yun nodded again. She pursed her lips, feeling a little wronged. Didn't she just mention it casually? Furthermore, she had also told Ruan Mian before that she could not guarantee if it would work. Why did Huo Liancheng have such a big temper? Could it be that he felt that she was being spoiled and had started to fan the flames in front of him even before she ascended? Chapter 239, Let him sleep on the couch. I just promised to help her. I didn't promise I would succeed. Jian Yun felt that it was necessary to clarify. Don't casually agree to this kind of thing in the future, Huo Liancheng said coldly. At this time, the elevator also reached the 28th floor. When the elevator door opened, Huo Liancheng walked out first. Jian Yun followed behind him with a face full of grievance. Cheng Muze's had already arrived. He saw Huo Liancheng enter the office with a cold face and saw Jian Yun's pursed lips and lowered head, looking like a bullied wife. He could not help but raise his eyebrows and ask, "What's going on? Who angered Sister Jian so early in the morning?" Jian Yun put her bag on the desk and glanced at Huo Liancheng's office with resentment. She told Huo Liancheng about what had happened in the elevator because she felt that Huo Liancheng's reaction was too extreme. She only mentioned it casually. If it was not enough, then it was fine. Why did he have such a big reaction? Cheng Wu's laughed when he heard her. I thought it was something, so this is it. I only mentioned it casually. I told Ruan Mian that I did not have that much face. It might be useless even if she said it. It doesn't matter if she said it. Jian Yun pouted and complained. Here. Cheng Wuzi passed a packed breakfast to Jian Yun. He sat beside Jian Yun's table and smiled. Sister Jian, you and fourth brother have not known each other for long and do not understand his personality. He has always been very clear about business and personal matters. He would not bring personal feelings into business, especially when he did not like it. Someone used the people around him to talk to him. So when you mentioned that, weren't you looking for trouble yourself? Jian Yun had just inserted the straw into the soybean milk cup and drank a mouthful of soybean milk. When she heard Cheng Wu's words, she lifted her eyelids and pointed at her nose. She asked gloomily, You said that he is very clear about official matters and personal matters? He will not bring personal feelings into official matters? Then why am I sitting here? Cheng Wuzi was stunned. He seemed to think that Jian Yun was right. He frowned and looked at Jian Yun. Then he laughed and said, You are an accident. Jian Yun put down the bean curd cup and took a bite of the bun. She said angrily, So those are all excuses. Okay, don't be angry. Fourth brother will embarrass you. At most you won't let him in tonight and let him sleep on the sofa. Cheng Wuzi said with a smile. What nonsense are you talking about? Jian Yun rolled her eyes at Cheng Wuzi. Her face was red. She wanted to deny it, but she felt that if she opened her mouth now, it would get darker and darker. So she changed the topic. Brother Cheng, can I ask you a favor? What favor? This call made Cheng Wuzi very happy. That's right. That? Jian Yun wrinkled her nose and thought about what to say. Do you still remember that Wu Wenjing? Of course I do. What happened to her? Cheng Wuzi asked as he ate the bun. She quit her job and did WeChat marketing. Now she wants to come back to work, so, Jian Yun said bashfully. So you want me to ask her to come back? Cheng Wuzi asked. Yes, Jian Yun nodded. Initially she wanted to ask Ruan Mian for help, but now that she could not help Ruan Mian, it was not good to ask her again. On Huo Liancheng's side, Jian Yun had already encountered such a huge problem. Even if she was beaten to death, she would not look for him again, so she could only look for Cheng Wuzi. Jian Yun saw that Cheng Wuzi did not speak and thought that he was not willing to help this matter. So she hurriedly waved her hand and said, It's okay if you are not convenient to help. I told her to apply for another ob or go out to find another job. Sister Jian, do you not believe in my ability? Cheng Wuzi asked with a straight face. No, Jian Yun squinted her eyes and smiled. I just don't want to trouble you. There's no need to trouble me. Leave this matter to me. Cheng Wuzi stood up and looked at the time on his watch. He smiled and said, Ask her to come back to work next Monday at the latest. So soon. Jian Yun's eyes lit up and she jumped up in joy. She almost wanted to kiss Cheng Wuzi to express her gratitude. All right, Sister Jian. If you want to thank me, do not kiss me in any other way. Otherwise, I will be beaten to death by fourth brother. Cheng Wuzi saw Jian Yun pouncing towards him and quickly retreated in fear. In the past, he might be happy to be kissed by a beauty, but now that he knew her relationship with Huo Liancheng, he still provoked her. Wasn't that looking for trouble for him? Haha, then fight with him. Let's see who is stronger. Jian Yun was in a good mood. She blinked and joked with Cheng Wuzi. Sister Jian, why do I feel that you are afraid that the world will not be chaotic? I will help you, and you still want to ruin me. Cheng Wuzi looked at Jian Yun from the corner of his eye. Are you happy when fourth brother and I fight? Of course. Jian Yun was about to say that she thought Cheng Wuzi could beat Huo Liancheng when she saw a figure at the door of the president's office out of the corner of her eye. She quickly shut her mouth and quietly returned to her seat without looking back. She lowered her head and quietly ate her breakfast. Fourth brother, is something the matter? Cheng Wuzi also noticed Huo Liancheng's gloomy face. He pushed his glasses and asked with a smile, Did you guys have a good chat? Huo Liancheng's handsome face was so gloomy that it was almost dripping water. When he thought of Jian Yun and Cheng Wuzi's calm teasing just now, he felt very upset. Yes, Sister Jian and I were like old friends at first sight. We always had a good chat, Cheng Wuzi said. He was not afraid of death. Jian Yun, on the other hand, lowered her head and gulped down the soybean milk. She said that she would not look at Huo Liancheng. This made Huo Liancheng's heart feel even more stifled. At this moment, the elevator door opened. Zhang Xiaolin, Chen Zige, Wang Xiaozhan, and the others walked in one by one. Zhang Xiaolin and the others were clearly surprised to see Huo Liancheng and Cheng Wuzi already here. They felt that they had arrived very early. They did not expect Huo Liancheng to be even earlier than them, as the CEO. However, the atmosphere in the big office was a little strange. Huo Liancheng stood at the door of the president's office. It seemed like he was angry. It was terrifyingly cold. President Huo. They greeted him politely. Huo Liancheng glanced at them coldly, then turned and walked into the office. Special Assistant Chen. The few of them were scared out of their wits, not knowing what was going on. Did you do it yourself? No, they had offended Huo Liancheng. It was only the second day, and if he was sent away, he wouldn't be able to raise his head in the Mings. It's fine. It has nothing to do with you guys. Chen Mu still had a smile on his face. He asked them to return to the secretary's office and quickly assigned the tasks for today. Jian Yun still followed Chen Mu's. When it was 9 o'clock, she quickly went back to work. Chen Mu told Huo Liancheng yesterday that he thought Jian Yun was very smart. She could do things easily. With her as his assistant, his work would be easy. Chen Mu's original intention was to bootlick Huo Liancheng. He had indeed won. Huo Liancheng was obviously very happy when he heard this. Then he increased Chen Mu's workload and made it clear that he could not let Jian Yun help him. Chen Mu was really depressed. Chapter 240, Strange CEO. The atmosphere in the CEO's office was very low this morning, and none of the people in the secretary's office dared breathe. They all worked hard, afraid that there would be a small mistake. Jian Yun got Chen Mu's assurance and was relieved. After working for a while, she felt thirsty, so she got up and took the cup to the tea room. The tea room in the CEO's office was naturally not comparable to the tea room shared by ordinary employees. Whether it was the facilities or tea beverages, they were all of the highest quality. Jian Yun poured a cup of hot orange juice and drank a few mouthfuls. She suddenly remembered that she should send Ruan Mian a message. It was not that she did not want to help, but it was just that Huo Liancheng did not want to enter and did not bother with her at all. Just as the message was sent out, Jian Yun noticed that someone had come in. She turned her head and saw a very familiar figure. White shirt, black pants, tall figure, broad shoulders. If it wasn't Huo Liancheng, who else could it be? However, Jian Yun only took a glance before she picked up her cup and walked out the door without looking back. Huo Liancheng's eyelids twitched. He wanted to reach out and pull Jian Yun. I saw someone coming, so he retracted his hand. President Huo. The two who came were Chen Zige and Wang Xiaojian. When they saw Huo Liancheng was also in the tea room, they immediately bowed and greeted him respectfully. Huo Liancheng replied indifferently and turned around to leave. Hey Chen, do you feel anything strange? Wang Xiaojian nudged Chen Zige with his elbow. What's strange about it? Chen Zige asked. Chen Zige did not mind. He was thinking about meeting Jian Yun face to face just now. She even smiled at him. Her smile was really beautiful. There were 2 shallow dimples and they were sweet. Why didn't President Huo bring a cup into the tea room? He did not bring anything with him when he went out. He did not come to drink water. What did he come here for? Wang Xiaojian used Conan's spirit and started to gossip with a wretched expression. What do you want to say? Chen Zige's hand that was holding the cup paused. Didn't you meet Jian Yun just now? She went out of the tea room. President Huo just happened to come over. There's something fishy going on. Wang Xiaojian giggled. Shut up! Stop talking nonsense. Chen Zige's expression was ugly. He filled the cup with water and walked out. It's not nonsense. People from the Human Resources Department have spread that Jian Yun used some kind of trick to hook up with President Huo. The two of them kissed on the street. Wang Xiaojian pulled Chen Zige and kept sighing. Jian Yun looks quite innocent. I didn't expect her means to be so high. Even someone of President Huo's level was taken care of by her. It seems that she must be very experienced. Little Chen, don't be fooled by her appearance. This kind of woman is not someone you can deal with. Wang Xiaojian suddenly felt Chen Zige tugging at his arm. He asked unhappily, Why are you pulling me? President Huo. President Huo. Chen Zige looked at Huo Liancheng who had returned. His face turned black from nervousness. He knew that Huo Liancheng must have heard everything when he saw Huo Liancheng's cold eyes. Wang Xiaojian's hands were trembling in fear. Although Huo Liancheng was young, the energy around him was still strong. The aura of a superior being is not something that small people like them have. As a result, Wang Xiaojian spoke the truth behind his back. The moment he met Huo Liancheng's true self, he was so afraid that his tongue was tied and his legs were trembling. I didn't choose you guys to come up here to listen to you gossiping about my private matters. Huo Liancheng said coldly. Yes, I'm sorry, President Huo. I won't do it next time. Chen Zige quickly lowered his head and apologized. It has nothing to do with you. Huo Liancheng looked at Wang Xiaojian and said calmly, You go to the marketing department. If I hear any more bad words from the company, I will leave the Mings. Huo, President Huo. Wang Xiaojian's face turned pale when he heard that. They had been selected to work for Huo Liancheng. They had become the envy of the entire Mings. They had been chosen by Huo Liancheng. This meant that they would have a chance to go to the Huos in the future, which was a much bigger platform than the Mings. If he was sent back to the marketing department now, not only would his dream of joining the Mings be destroyed, he would also become the laughingstock of the entire Mings. Huo Liancheng ignored Wang Xiaojian. He entered the tea room. Wang Xiaojian wanted to plead for mercy, but Chen Zige dragged him away. Although Chen Zige did not know Huo Liancheng well, there were rumors that the crown prince of the Huos had a cold face and a hard heart. He was very clear about his personal interests and would not punish his employees easily. However, once he made a decision, there was no room for negotiation. Therefore, even if Wang Xiaojian pleaded for mercy, it would be useless. He could only blame Wang Xiaojian for his bad mouth. Why did he have to talk about President Huo's private matters? Jianyun did not know what had happened in the tea room. After sending a message to Ruan Mian, she went back to work. Only when it was almost lunchtime did she remember to pick up her phone and look at it. On WeChat, Ruan Mian replied, "It's fine. I'm already very grateful that you're willing to help me." Thank you, Jianyun. Although Jianyun also felt that what Huo Liancheng said was right, and she did not need to be grateful to Ruan Mian only took on the role of a messenger and did not help her. But Jianyun was thin-skinned. If others were to talk nicely to her, she would not be able to embarrass herself. So when she saw Ruan Mian being so understanding, she still felt a little guilty. Instead, Ruan Mian comforted Jianyun. "Jianyun, it's really nothing. Don't have any psychological burden. I know I shouldn't have brought this up. I just wanted to try my luck. It's okay. I have worked by President Gusai for so long, I still have the ability to protect myself. I can think of another way." Jianyun felt that this was the only way. She was only a small employee. In terms of ability, she was not even Tulek. So it was better not to think too much. When it was almost time to get off work at noon, Jianyun received a call from Wu Wenjing, asking her to have lunch together. At the same time, she also brought the skincare products that she bought. Jianyun had just arranged a time and place with Wu Wenjing when she saw Huo Liancheng call her. Jianyun raised her head and looked at the office that was right in front of her. She could not help but curl her lips and pick up the phone. "Hello? Let's eat together." Huo Liancheng said simply. "No, I have an appointment. You can eat by yourself." Jianyun looked at the time and did not say much. She picked up her bag and said, "I'm leaving." Huo Liancheng did not have time to express his dissatisfaction when he heard that there was no sound on the other side of the phone. Then he was hung up. He narrowed his eyes and stared at the phone for a long time before he got up and walked out. "Fourth brother, let's eat together?" Cheng Muzi invited him warmly. Huo Liancheng glanced at Cheng Muzi coldly. "What did she tell you this morning?" "Oh, it's little sister Wu. Ho Hai resigned and wanted to come back to work. Sister Jian didn't dare to tell you, so she told me about it." Cheng Muzi picked up the cup of water and took a sip. Huo Liancheng frowned and did not say anything. He turned around and went back into the office,